In today's episode, we're going to be showing you 50 cool guitars from 50 states. These are small builders, unique builders, interesting artists that make instruments, big manufacturers you know about, some companies you definitely don't know about, and in some cases, the only company in that state. I want to thank everyone who subscribed to this channel because you make videos like this possible. Starting with the state of Alabama, we have a company called the Fritz Brothers. This guitar company makes a Telecaster style guitar that has a patented stainless steel nut. It looks like it has like nails sticking out of it. This guitar is about $3,600 and comes with some interesting options like a Sitka spruce top. Moving on to Alaska, where it's nice and cold, we have a guitar builder named ggress who builds interesting and different looking instruments that are all made from woods sourced locally. So he's trying to make less impact on the environment and give musicians something unique. Now, welcome to my home state of Arizona, where we have Fano Guitars. This was the company that was founded by Dennis Fano, and then he sold it to the new owners who have his designs. Now, I've tried the original Fano guitars and they were really good. I have not tried any of them since the new company's taken over, so I don't really have any input there, but they look fantastic. Now, welcome to Arkansas, where I found a really cool guitar company called flyingpigguitars, where a hobbyist turned builder started making cigar box guitars and one-string banjos. Very cool, very interesting, and definitely unique, so I wanted to share it with you guys. That brings us to California, and pretty much every builder on the list you can think of: Fender, Kiesel, Taylor, G&L, Music Man, Sir, Friedman, Rickenbacker. That's only naming a few. There are so many guitar companies that make guitars in California that the list could be its own video. Now, if you get sick of that beautiful California weather and the 5,000 guitar companies that are there, you could always go to Colorado, where it's a little colder, a little drier, but more importantly, you have a couple cool guitar companies. You have Texas Toast Guitars and Gros Guitars. Now, it's something interesting to mention about Texas Toast Guitars. They actually also teach people how to build guitars. So they not only make high-end guitars, but they teach. Gros Guitars is kind of known as being kind of like a counter to Sir Guitars. In other words, he makes a lot of high-end Strats and Tellys, Fender-style guitars that are very expensive. Now, in the state of Connecticut, we have Bethany Guitars that makes handcrafted, beautiful acoustic guitars using really cool and different woods. So if you're in that area, give it a try. Now, in the state of Delaware, we have Bucci Guitars. They not only build guitars, but they do repairs and restorations. They have Strat-style guitars with a little class. And that brings us to the state of Florida and Dean Guitars. Now, Dean doesn't do a whole lot of guitars made in the USA anymore, but they do offer a few models, and they are very nice. And if you're in Florida, you should definitely go to Georgia and check out Cmg Guitars. Cmg Guitars does Les Paul style guitars that are a little bit more affordable, and they have their own line of amplifiers called Devil Cat amplifiers. If you're ever lucky enough to go to Hawaii, definitely check out Kula Ukulele and their beautiful ukuleles. They are literally works of art and sound amazing. That brings us to Idaho and bolinguitars. They're the first ones on this list that pop out as a little different. I love this Billy Gibbons style instrument, this Harley Davidson motorcycle guitar, and the Batman and Joker guitars. Fantastic stuff. Definitely had to make the list. And now that brings us to Illinois and a little problem. The biggest guitar manufacturer there is Washburn. However, Washburn really isn't making any guitars there. Washburn still makes a few models in the USA, but those are ghost built by another guitar builder. Even with that in mind, I still want to put them on the list because, like I said, Washburn has a huge history in Illinois. A lot of the builders on this list are acoustic manufacturers, and in Indiana, we have Tom's Guitars and ukuleles. They are beautiful looking instruments. Like I said, for those looking for something little special handmade instrument. In Iowa, I found a guitar builder who likes to put electronics in a guitar in a serious way. biltguitars has some crazy guitars. Look at the knobs and switches on this thing. This is effects built into the guitar. Very cool. Like I said, I love seeing the builders trying and experimenting with crazy things. I love these different looking pickups in this guitar. I like that they're doing a lot of stuff that you're not seeing in the larger manufacturing side of things. Dorothy said there's no place like home, and that brings us to Kansas and JD Reno Guitars. Not only are they beautiful looking acoustics, I love the design of his bridge. And I'm noticing the trend more and more of putting the holes on the side of the acoustic as well. And that'll bring us over to Kentucky and Wilhelm Acoustic Guitars, where he uses beautiful woods and he matches them together. He's also using the holes on the side that we're seeing more often now. And something interesting, his headstock looks like it's a reverse Gibson headstock. If you look at the top, it looks like a mirror to what Gibson did. That's an interesting idea I've seen used before, and I think it's cool. In Louisiana, there's a little company called Thin the Herd Guitars. Gotta love that name. And what they're doing is they're making more affordable affordable guitars. Looked really interesting what I saw. You could see the prices here, $525. Might be something to check out if you're looking for something unique and budget friendly. Now let's swing over to Maine and a guitar company called Camden Harbor Custom Guitars. They are making pine Telecaster style, Barncaster style guitars. This one about $2,000. Again, this is for someone who's looking for this traditional style guitar with a more unique and hand-built kind of vibe. Now this one's easy because we're going to Maryland, so we're going to be talking about Paul Reed Smith guitars. But if you're in Maryland, don't forget Knaggs Guitars. Joe Knaggs ran the Paul Reed Smith private stock department, and he started his own company, and he makes some amazing guitars. Speaking of amazing guitars, if you go over to Massachusetts, you can check out Ken Parker Guitars. The guy who made the original Parker Flies has a guitar company again making jazz style hollow bodies that are truly unique and different. And if that's not enough, if you're there, definitely check out Healy Guitars, as he has some interesting guitars as well. In fact, I love this guitar called the Growler. This is definitely a guitar I would dig. Now that brings us to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where we have Heritage Guitars. The big draw of Heritage Guitars was it's the original machinery and employees of the Gibson facility when Gibson left, and they continue to make Gibson style guitars with an agreement with Gibson. Now new owners have taken over Heritage, and there's been some changes, like they've modernized the facility a little bit. I've played a few of their guitars. I would love to check more out. In Minnesota, we have a guitar company called Whale Hazard Guitars. I love that name. It's just out there. It's crazy. And the guitars look great. They have a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new vibe to them. These are definitely guitars I dig and could see myself buying. Now let's go down to Mississippi and, of course, Peavey Guitars, the biggest manufacturer of musical instruments in that state for sure. Now, they don't make a whole lot of guitars in the US anymore, but they still are making a couple, so they're definitely still making the list. I wish they would make more, and if they ever see videos like this, like I said, I would love to see Peavey grow back in the US more again. Now that brings us to one of my favorite guitar and bass manufacturers, which is Conklin Instruments. Pretty much the pioneers of the 7-string, 8-string, 9-string basses and guitars. Fantastic instruments, beautifully crafted, just fantastic instruments. Now in the Big Sky state of Montana, a few of you may not know this, but Gibson has another facility there. That's right, they have a factory in Bozeman that makes acoustic guitars. So if you ever get a chance to get a tour there, I would definitely take it. Now going over to Nebraska, we have Burner Guitars, which are handcrafted acoustics, and again, we're seeing this trend of the sound hole on the side as well. And of course, this is more of artisan hand-built instruments, definitely worth checking out if you're looking for something unique. Now, over in the desert of Nevada, we don't have a guitar builder, we have a guitar bridge manufacturer. Kahler bridges are manufactured in Nevada. Some of the best tremolo bridges on the market. Although they're not a guitar builder, I felt like we had to mention them. Now, back across the United States, over to New Hampshire, we have Marquez Guitars and basses, and one of the things that's really cool about them is not only do they have a cool look, but the prices seem really good. $12.75 is what they're posting for a price, so I might have to come back and check them out even more with a different video. Stopping in New Jersey, there's Moon Guitars. These definitely have a little bit of that BC Rich, a little bit of the Fender, a little bit of the Monarch vibe. I love the finish on this guitar, and I love the finish on this guitar, so I thought they would be worth showing you guys. Now, closer back to where I live in New Mexico, there's Pimentel classical guitars that are just gorgeous. In fact, I might have to take a trip to check some out myself. I would definitely give their website a hit. Now in New York, there's a couple builders. Of course, Fedora's there, just to mention one of many. However, there's a brand called Bruton that I absolutely love. This Odyssey guitar is one of my favorite guitars I've seen in a while. It's so familiar, yet so refreshingly different. This guitar is actually semi-hollow. So what's also great is they do custom work, so you don't have to take a guitar any particular way. They can help you dream up new stuff. Now, tucked away in North Carolina is a brand called Zionguitars. Now, they've been around for a while, and they might look a little familiar, like Tom Anderson's. Well, that's because they share some history with that company. Definitely check them out as well. Now, taking you to North Dakota, there's JohnMarkguitars. And again, a small builder doing some interesting things, really cool guitars. And that's the whole point of this video, to show you guys small, unique, cool guitar builders and put them on your radar. In Ohio, there's a company called Fishguitars. And if anyone's going to get the unique award, it's going to be this company. Handmade exotic guitars is just not enough to explain these. These are carved, beautiful pieces of art. This is definitely one of those guitar companies where they're not going to be mistaken with a lot of other guitar companies. In Oklahoma, there's a company called Dogtired that makes guitars and straps. The guitars are definitely of the telly variety. They have some different takes on those guitars, and it's pretty cool from what I see. Now in Oregon, you have two great acoustic manufacturers. You have Breedlove and you have Bedell acoustic guitars. Both make very fine high-end acoustic guitars that are up there with Taylor. Speaking of high-end acoustics, we're in Pennsylvania, and of course, Martin Guitars. I mean, there's just no substitute. They're one of the best acoustic guitars in the world. I love mine. They're adored by guitar players around the world. Now that brings us to the smallest state in the Union, Rhode Island. You wouldn't think you'd find anything there, but instead you do. You find Maguire Guitars. Rick Maguire makes fantastic guitars, and one of the things I love about his website more than most of the guitar companies I've seen today is he actually has a shop tour on his website letting you see how he builds his guitars, and he does a little bit of the old with a little bit of the new, and I love everything I've seen. In South Carolina, I found a really cool, unique guitar company called Lyman Guitars that does import guitars, American assembled guitars, and American-made guitars. Now, the American-made guitars are basically tellies, but they start at about $1,000, which makes them highly competitive for a small business like them to be competing with a bigger brand. Definitely, if you're looking for that unique brand, at least they're offering price points that are obtainable. If you're in South Dakota, it's pretty tough because there is not a lot to find. In fact, all I could find was Soul Guitars, and although it looks like a very cool shop, it was literally the only thing I could find. So I'll leave a link down below for him. He seems like he's doing a great job. Now, Tennessee is like California where there's tons of great guitar builders, but you can't mention Tennessee without mentioning Novo. Novo is Dennis Fano. He now makes Novo guitars. These guitars are some next level fantastic instruments. They still have the Fano vibe, but there's something just new and more interesting about them, so I would definitely check them out. In the big state of Texas, you have some big shoes to fill, and Collingsguitars fills those shoes. These are some of the best built instruments I've ever felt in my entire life. Although their prices are high, their level of quality is higher. Not only do they do electrics, they also do acoustics. Definitely put your hands on these. Now in Utah, you have a company called Bunker Guitars, and what I love is they make two kinds of guitars. They make these kind of out there and interesting, unique guitars, but they also tend to also make Strat style guitars that are kind of very just traditional, which is a nice way to cover both your bases. Now over to the state of Vermont, you have a company called Froggybottomguitars. How could you not like that name? And they're building some beautiful parlor acoustics. Very traditional, something worth checking out if you're looking for a parlor acoustic. If you think there's nothing crazy or interesting left, well, you're wrong. Let's go to Virginia and check out Angry Mutant Guitars. These guitars are very crazy. As you can tell, they're going for something for artistic form. Very cool. I would imagine they can pretty much build you anything you want. Now in Washington, there's two brands and both are very familiar. Of course, you have Warmoth Guitars that build some of the best bodies and necks around the world. You also have Rainsong, which are carbon fiber acoustics. Now Rainsong was originally started, I think, in Hawaii, and they've moved to Washington since. But either way, if you're in Washington, you have two great guitar builders to choose from. If you're a fan of Brad Paisley, then you know in West Virginia, you have Crook Guitars. Now Crook Guitars is notoriously known for these Paisley bodies that he makes. Of course, Brad Paisley played those guitars everywhere. Fantastic looking guitars. If you're in the state of Wisconsin, you have Vesper Guitars that makes acoustics and electrics. I like some of the body woods that he's using. A little familiar, but yet a little unique. And finishing up this tour of states and guitars, we have Wyoming and Westberry Guitars. Their slogan, known worldwide for their quality and sound. The guitars have a very Schecter, very kind of Sir vibe, very modern looking Strat style guitars. The quality looks good, and it's always great to support these small builders as well. So there you have it, 50 cool guitars, basses, ukuleles, and banjos from 50 cool states. I hope you enjoyed this video. The whole point was, again, just to hopefully expose you guys to some new instrument manufacturers, small builders, and unique builders. And of course, if I missed any of the ones you think should be on this list, please put it down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what your choices were. And as always, thank you so much for your time. Till the next time, know your gear.